had this like friend that I think this is my closest friend in high school. I was really, really close with them. And we were in like the weird anime kid kind of group with like, you know how there's like a fucking like a web in high school with like interconnections of like the weird anime kids hang out with the skater kids and the goth kids and the emo kids, and they might kind of mingle with the, I don't know, the sporty kids and the cheerleaders and stuff on the side. Maybe it's in MySpace? Fuck, it might be. I don't remember my MySpace login. Yeah, and the scene kids. And I didn't really like stick to any one group. I just kind of bounced around and wasn't really like close with many people, but I did have a close friend. And I guess for like background context, we were friends from like, I want to say like 9th grade till senior year. I think, yeah, 9th grade to senior year. And she was like a huge weeaboo, was really into drawing South Park yaoi and like Death Note. She would like cosplay. She was the kind of anime kid that would like cosplay to school. She would dress up like Misa from Death Note. Sometimes she dressed up as L from Death Note to school. And I'm not saying this as like bro, I was weird as fuck too. I wasn't like that amount of weird because I was too shy to be that weird, and that was my downfalling. But yeah, I'm happy that she cosplayed to school. It's fucking high school. Like, who gives a shit? Backtrack to the South Park thingy. She was really into South Park and would like, we had art class together, and she would draw like South Park characters and as anime boys kissing each other. And it was okay. I know like the South Park kids, they're literally kids, but we were in high school, so it was whatever. Like yeah, just like the actual South Park episode where they like talk about the South Park yaoi is an actual thing. There's people that are still, there's a very active fandom of people who write like fan fiction and draw art and all kinds of shit of South Park characters. And you know what? Good for them. I think they're all literally like Zoomer kids. They're all like 12-year-olds into it. So like, let them live. She did that a decade before the episode? Yes. Because I think that like community had been thriving for a bit before that episode aired. And then they caught wind of it and they're like, shit, let's make a little parody of this. Yeah, it's been a thing pretty much since the show started airing. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, that's beside the point. Yeah, South Park, yeah, it really gets my heart, my little ticker pumping. Yeah, just a little bit of fun. And then, I guess for added context, we both came from like a pretty like, as far as family upbringing went, we both had like problems at home, like with our parents and stuff, so we kind of bonded over that early on. And her parents were divorced. Her biological mom was, to put it lightly, very unhinged, very deranged. That's putting it lightly. And her stepmom was kind of a bitch, and we'd always make fun of her. Cause she had some like poop problem, I think. She had like IBS, and we'd always make fun of her for having IBS, I guess. And she was like a huge health nut. And my friend would always get like her stepmom and her dad would always like get on her about like weird health shit. They were like really like strict about diet stuff. They were really into like the hippie like dieting culture kind of stuff, and really like hard on her when it comes to like school. They made her get a job, and it's like, I think it's normal for kids to have like a part-time job when they're in high school. Like, I worked a little bit too, but she was like required to work like long hours at her part-time job to help like support her family and shit. And she kind of like, I don't know, was forced to grow up because of that. and kind of become more adult. Yeah, she had like a pretty rough family, and her dad was a hard ass too, and my dad was a hard ass. And I won't get into it too much, but like growing up, I had my share of like family trouble that I'd always get pretty, I don't know, torn up about. And especially so since, when you're a teenager, your hormones are raging and everything is sad. But yeah, me and my friend, we bonded over having like rough situations at home. And I guess I just want to give as much context as possible, because like this friend, she was a human too, with her own like share of troubles and stuff that led her to do things, I guess. I don't know, because like everyone has their own battles that they're fighting that you have no idea about. But yeah, she was a really close friend, and I guess because of her like troubles at home, and because we were both like teenagers, and you know how things are when you're a teen. Everyone's an asshole when they're a teenager, let's be real. I was an asshole when I was a teenager. I was a quiet, shy kid, but I was still an asshole. But that's part of being a kid, is like you can be an asshole and learn from it and grow from it. And you still got a whole lot of time ahead of you to become a better person. But so me and this friend, we were super close. We hung out all the time. She had like a car, because she got her license really early. I think she was like a year older than me or something. And she would actually like drive me to school sometimes, and I would go visit her at her job, because like I said, she had to work a part-time job. And she worked at this like family restaurant nearby, like where we went to school. And sometimes she'd let me like get free food and all kinds of like goodies like that. No, she didn't kill someone. She didn't kill someone. You absorb asshole, you spit it out and learn its ways. Yes. You accumulate all your mistakes into a matryoshka doll of mistakes, and you become a beautiful cocoon and break out into a butterfly. I don't know, like chronologically speaking, it's hard to like cobble together all the events that occurred. But I guess this friend, she dated this guy, and she was really, really into him, but he wasn't as into her. And he was like a really shy kid, and she would often like get really angry with him, and like I would have to act as like a mediator in their relationship. And she would send me like, she would copy and paste messages that she had with him, like during fights, like during arguments with him, to me, for me to read, so that I could be like, yeah, fuck him, fuck that guy, and like validate her and stuff like that. And coming from like, I guess for me, like this is my only like close friend, and I was a really shy kid. And as I said, like we had like a pretty close bond from both coming from like households where it was really hard for us to really relate to anyone else. So I felt like, oh my god, this is like my best friend, this is like my sister, like I can't disappoint her, I can't let her down. Like, you ever have a friend where like they're an asshole, but they're like your closest friend, so you don't want to lose them, so you're just like, yeah, you don't want to get on their bad side, and they're the kind of asshole that's not like flagrantly an asshole. Sometimes assholes are just like people that everyone likes, but then you find out later that the reason why everyone likes them is because they're all afraid of them and they don't want to get on their bad side, like that kind of person. Yeah, walking on eggshells. Yeah, like constantly scared that I'm gonna say the wrong thing and like disappoint her or set her off, because she would always be set off or disappointed by everyone else around her. Like her boyfriend at the time, they'd always get into fights, and she'd always like come to me like, oh my god, like he didn't want to go out for his birthday, and I just feel like blah, 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 all this stuff, and just calling him all kinds of names. And she had this other friend named fucking Molly, I don't know. And Molly was in a relationship with a guy that she had been dating since middle school, like literally since like 6th grade. And they had been dating, fuck, at this point in time I was like 15 or 16. So they had been dating for a really long time, and they were engaged to get married like right out of high school. And at the time we were just like, oh man, this shit's not gonna last. Like so lame, you know, like. And my friend, out of like, I guess, jealousy, like looking back on it now, like she would always like make like passive aggressive digs at this girl and make fun of her, and then to her face just be like, oh my god, like I love you so much, you're my best friend, blah, 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 blah. But like in private she would just like, she'd do things like take pictures of her off of Facebook and like make memes out of them, that kind of stuff. Just like mean-spirited, like secret, like clandestine bullying, like high school girl behavior. Yeah. And I'm not saying this to say like, oh, she was so evil, like, ooh, like it's just par for the course for like high school girls. I don't know, not to excuse it, because like it is a shitty thing to do, but when you're a teen, sometimes things just be that way. Just, yeah, mean girls kind of stuff. She was like Regina George if she was really into anime. Like everyone loved her. She was super nice and like public, super like outgoing and friendly, and pretty popular, because she was not afraid to like put herself out there and like, I don't know, just be friends with everyone. And she'd always go to parties, she'd always like be in extracurricular activities, she was friends with everyone at her work. And just like at home, like she'd go home and just her parents would be just awful to her. Like her biological mom and her stepmom and her dad would just be like complete shitheads to her, and like made her feel, you know, like just emotionally abused pretty much. So it makes sense that like, I don't know, she needed some kind of outlet for that, like pent up feelings over being, I don't know, the people in your life that you expect to really care about you unconditionally and support you. Like when they mistreat you in that way and they just make you feel lesser and they make you feel just like unloved. So it makes sense that you would react in that kind of way and have like develop that kind of, you know. Yeah, a lot of the time it's just the parents. Like if there's a kid that's like a bully at school in any kind of way, it's just, if you look at their home life, that's probably where it's starting. Need someone to vent? Yeah, she was just taking it out on other people. So in private, like she would always like talk badly of other people and like say these like heinous things about people that to their faces she was so like friendly and supportive of them, like to their face. But when talking to me, and she'd always like reinforce my fears by being like, oh my god, everyone else is and I can't trust them, and they're so fake, but you're real, and I know that you're never gonna disappoint me, you're never gonna be fake and weird like them, and all this stuff. So for me, I was just like, oh god, yeah, you're right, I would never disappoint you, yeah, never. Yeah, I'm the real friend, the other people are bad, yeah, I guess. Just like so scared that I was gonna set her off and make her mad at me, because I latched onto her through basically like trauma bonding, I guess, because we'd always have like problems at home and we'd always confide with each other about it. And on that front, like she was a really good like supportive friend. Like I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have someone like that to really be able to talk to stuff about that with, because everyone else that I was friends with, like I was too scared to open up about that kind of stuff, and felt, I don't know, like I'd just be bothering them, you know? Like I just want to be like, oh hey, did you do the math homework, and da, 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 not just like open up about how like, oh yeah, I cried in the entire fucking morning before class because my parents got in a fight, and then like all that kind of shit, you know? But with her, it was like we would just casually talk about it like it was nothing, and it made me feel like seen. It made me feel like I wasn't a freak. I wasn't like, you know, like all this stuff that's going on at home, it's not my fault. And we both like vent about it and formed like a really strong friendship over that. And outside of that too, like we both like really liked anime. We both really liked like the same kind of humor. We'd always have like inside jokes with each other. And oh my god, my mom did not like her one bit. Every time she'd come over, my mom would just be like, oh, is Regina coming over? And I'd be like, yeah, like, can she come over? Is it okay? And she'd be like, well, maybe not today. I just don't want to deal with it. And then I'd have to like call my friend and be like, oh, sorry, my mom said no, you have to go back. And my friend would get pissed at me and we'd get in a fight over it. But like, yeah, like maybe my mom knew that she was like kind of, I don't know. At the time, my mom didn't really, I don't think my mom really picked up on that kind of stuff. My mom was more annoyed by how weird she was and how she was like into, like really into anime and really goofy. Like we would do this thing where we would like talk to each other in like a stupid voice, like you know, just like stupid kid stuff, like an inside joke where we talk like Cartman at each other. And I'd start like doing that voice at home, and my mom would be like, can you please not do that stupid voice, like that kind of stuff. Okay, this friend, she was really nice in public, but in private she was a demon. Like it goes beyond just like shit talking other people. We had this other friend who at the time, like, he worked at like Subway, and one time after school she was just like, hey, do you want to go visit Jason at his work and go get sandwiches? And I was like, oh sure, that sounds fun. We pull up to Subway and she goes in and she's like, hey, she's just like razzing him a bit, just like usual friend stuff, and asks him to make a sandwich for her. But he like, I guess like mistakenly put something on it that she didn't want, and she fucking blew up at him. Like, not even in a joking way. She was just like, oh my god, you can't even get like making a sandwich right? Like you're a fucking failure. Like calling him all these names, like saying like, oh, you're a fucking failure, you're not gonna go anywhere in life. How can you like not even get a sandwich right? And she said, and I quote, like, I hope you lose your job and become homeless. And I was just standing there like, at first I thought she was joking around, because sometimes we joke around about like stuff like that, just like, you know how people roast each other a bit. But no, she was serious. I could see the anger in her eyes, and he was just like shrinking back, just like I'm sorry, just like having no idea what to say, because he's like just trying to do his job. And then like later she tried to say like, oh, it was just a joke, like you can't even take a joke, you're such a pussy, can't even joke around with you, like that kind of thing. Wife material. He turned to her and said, sir, this is a Subway. And I've never had her blow up on me that bad, but it came close sometimes.
That is not very protagonist behavior.
Like if I ever stood up for someone that she was shit talking, she would get pretty pissed and would make me fall into line pretty fast. I just got like scared into just going along with whatever she did, whatever she said. And even though like logically, like looking back at this, it's like, why the fuck was I friends with this person? She was just causing me constant stress and just making me feel horrible about myself. She would like make me like agree with her when it comes to like shit talking people, and if I didn't, she would get mad at me, and she would like shit talk me to my face sometimes too. She'd like make fun of my appearance. One time she said I looked like a prepubescent boy, and I got so mad in that moment. Like, I wanted to like stand up for myself so bad, but all I could do is just like laugh and be like, yeah, only I can say that about me. How are you not constantly in fight or flight? Every time I hung out with her, I was. Like, don't get me wrong, like, I still had fun with her. Like, we had fun hanging out a lot. We'd have like all kinds of inside jokes. We'd like have the time of our lives, like at school, outside of school. But sometimes, holy fuck, I was terrified of this girl. Because not only would she like blow up at you if you like got on her bad side, she would go and like tell other people about you and try to turn them against you. Because she did that with like me and other people, just like telling me like, oh, don't hang out with this person, they did this and this, and you don't want to get involved with them because they, like 5 years ago, they farted in my car or something. I don't know. 5 years ago, we went to the mall and we threw a quarter into the fountain to make a wish, and they told me what their wish was, and the wish didn't come true because of it. So she blew up at this guy that we were mutual friends with, and he remained friends with her even after that because he was in the same boat as me. He also came from like, he had like a rough family situation at home, and he was kind of like, I don't know, he had trouble at school. Like, his grades were really bad, and my friend would kind of like do this cycle with him where she'd be like supportive of him and helping him, but then flip and just be like, if he ever disappointed her in any way, just flip on him, just like flipping a switch, saying like, oh, you're such a failure, you're going nowhere in life. And yeah, like good cop, bad cop kind of routine. And she would like send me the messages that she'd send with him too, just to be like, look at this fucking idiot, like I can't believe you said that to me. And I'd have to sit there and be like, yeah, he really sounds like an idiot, haha. And I felt so fucking bad, just like, I don't know, I was just cowardly and did not want to get on her bad side, so I would join in on like making fun of people with her, because I thought like that's how I win brownie points with this person. Is I just learned through her like classically conditioning me, and just through me being like a shy, cowardly kind of person, that if I just play along, then she's not gonna blow up on me. And part of it is like, because she was just this like beloved person and so popular, it's just like you're friends with this person that everyone likes, so if you get on their bad side, they must be right? Like, you kind of just like trick yourself into thinking that she is right about all this, like she is right about everyone being fake, and like she is a good person, so she has a good like metric for like what makes a good person. So if I'm a bad person in her eyes, then I must be a bad person, you know? It's kind of hard to explain, but she just kind of like manipulated people in that way. It sucks to have relations like that while developing emotionally. Yeah, like I started being friends with her when I was like 14, 15, and pretty much through high school. She was my closest friend. And it did kind of mess things up for me, I'm not gonna lie. Like, for the first few years after I left high school, I was really scared of like developing any kind of like actual friendship or like relationships in general with people, because I just did not want all this shit to happen again. Fear of friends, yeah. Fear of friends, and just like fear of I don't know, making the same mistakes, I guess. Just like falling into like an abusive, like emotionally abusive kind of pattern. But like I said, like despite all of that, I don't think she is a bad person. Like, I don't think she is evil. I don't think, like... I think she's just a product of her life at home. I blame her parents most of all for being just absolute pieces of shit. And like the stories she would tell me of like things that were happening at home, and I witnessed some of the things because I'd go over to her house sometimes just to chill, play games and shit, and I just like hear the kinds of things her dad would say to her. I'd overhear like her crazy fucking mom on the phone. And her mom was fucked, man. Her mom was actually like mentally ill, like severely mentally ill. And any time she like went to visit her, she would end up like hurt somehow, like to like that kind of shit. She must have wanted control. Yeah, like it's gotta be like, you know, like you feel helpless and mistreated in that kind of environment. You want to lash out somehow and feel like you can have control over something. So that's probably why she was the way she was in her like interpersonal relationships. And not like still on this video frame. I don't know, it's kind of creeping me out. Her face looks scary as fuck. Here, let's leave it on this one because it's scarier. I still have Stockholm Syndrome? No, it's not Stockholm Syndrome. It's just like, I don't know. I've been there too. I don't think anyone, like everyone who's in like a rough home situation ends up that way. I think it's just like, depends on the person. But I just know from experience that like people who go through that kind of stuff, it just explains a lot. Kids with big problems, like way too much to deal with when you're that young, on top of all the other bullshit that goes on in high school. Just killing in the corner. It explains, but it doesn't excuse. Well, I feel like it partially excuses it, because, bro, like, we were like 15 to 17 years old, and I think, I don't know. It was just unfortunate, you know? It's just unfortunate. Not like you get to control which person you're born as. Yeah, sometimes you get a bad spawn. And teens will be teens. Perpetuation of trauma response in the body. Yeah, there's like the whole thing of this cycle of abuse too. Like a lot of people who grow up in abusive households end up perpetuating like the same abuse that was done to them, or they get like terrified of like ending up that way, so they're like, I'm never gonna have kids, you know? Like, oh yeah, we're still at the tip of the iceberg. Now we're moving slightly under the water. So it's kind of hard to keep track of all the characters in the story because there's quite a few. But so my friend had a boyfriend that she dated for a bit. She was really like obsessively into him. He wasn't very into her. They ended up breaking it off, and he got together with another girl like a few months later, who was also like an anime kid, really into cosplay, named I don't know, fucking Sally or something. And she was like viciously jealous of this girl, and every time we'd hang out, she'd always end up like trash talking her and talking about like, oh, she's not even good for him, like she's gonna ruin everything, she only cares about herself, like he's just fooling himself, he's just getting with her to make me jealous and all this shit. And then that girl disappeared. Well, so this friend no, she didn't kill her. She didn't kill her, but bro, I was worried for a bit that she might. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie, bro. I was a little worried that she might. But over time, she kind of got over this guy. And I guess, like, moving forward, we were in, like, 11th grade, I guess. And, things are getting, like, pretty strained between me and her. over time, just like as I got older through this friendship, I'm just realizing like, man, like, why am I friends with this person that just puts me down all the time, makes me feel like shit, and makes me feel like I'm walking on eggshells, and is constantly talking shit about other people, and it's making me anxious every time we hang out. And we ended up like fighting on and off. And then like, okay, I guess for context, there was the guy that worked at Subway. Apparently, he had a crush on me, and I was not aware of this. But at the time, I was kind of like crushing on him, but I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell a soul. And my friend pulled me aside one day and was just saying like, "Oh my god, this is so gross. You won't believe this." And I'm just like, what's going on today? Because she always had some like hot gossip to spill, and my ears were fucking primed open. And she was just like, the guy, the Subway guy, he told me last night that he had a huge crush on you. And I'm just like, okay, I guess that's weird. And she was just like, do not talk to him at all. He's such a fucking creep and a weirdo. And I'm just like, wait, why? I thought you guys were like really good friends. And she's like, no, like, I'm just really annoyed by him. Like, he's just like such a player, and just whatever you do not hang out with him, because he'll just be gross. And just like left it at that. And I just, in my head, I'm just like, okay, I'm never telling her that I had a crush on this guy ever. I'm taking this to the grave. She wanted him for herself. I think jealousy, yeah, I don't know. But she did the same thing with like a bunch of other guys, like in our class. She'd always come to me and be like, "Oh, he's like into you, but like don't bro, like he's so fucking gross and like such an asshole," and like all this stuff. Or she'd like make stuff up about them like saying horrible shit about me, just so I wouldn't talk to them anymore. Just say like, "Oh, like I heard him saying that you're like actually a huge slut. Like he was telling me all this stuff about how you're a huge slut and you're always like banging people in the school bathroom or something." And I was just like, well, that's weird. I can't imagine them saying that. But okay, I'll believe you because you're my best friend ever. And I believe everything you say, and I never want to get on your bad side ever, because if I do, then I'll lose my only close friend in school and I'll be all alone. This is coming from the same girl? Yes! And then, bro, holy fuck. Dude, the thing that I forgot about was that one day, I think this was in senior year, because this was close to like graduation, something happened at home and I was really stressed and sad about it. I came to school crying, and I had like science class first period. And I told you guys about how we had like a cafe at our school. This sounds so fucking bougie. We had a fucking cafe in the library, and my science teacher was a total fucking bro and would let us go in the middle of class, go get a chai tea latte from this cafe, because he knew like, you know what, if my students have like a nice caffeinated sweet tweet during my class, they're probably gonna want to pay attention more and be happier. So he was a real top G. So during my science class, I'm like holding back tears, and I went up to my teacher and I was just like, can I go to the library to get a coffee? And he was just like, yeah, sure. Didn't ask any fucking questions, and I just left, and I went to the bathroom and started fucking bawling my eyes out. And my friend saw me in the hallway and like came in the bathroom while I was just crying. And I just remember just like looking at like the tiles on the floor and how blurry they looked because of my tears, and just I couldn't like think, or like I couldn't do anything, bro. I was just like, I couldn't stop crying because of the shit that happened earlier that day. And my friend came over and just started comforting me as she usually does, and was just like, no, it's okay, like tell me what happened. And I just like I calmed down after like 10 fucking minutes of just pure straight fucking crying, and just told her the stuff that happened earlier that morning with my parents. And she was saying all this stuff like, no, like, I can't believe like they would do that, and bro, you know what, we should just run away. We should just run away from school, from this town. I have a car. We can just get in my car and just run. And at the time I'm still like crying, but my brain switches from crying mode to like what the fuck is going on mode slowly, and I'm just like, what? And she like put her like arms on my shoulders and like pushed me into the wall and was just like staring me in the eyes with like, she like didn't look like she was there. Like, you know how when a dog has a seizure and they're just like staring blankly ahead, like no one's home? Like, she was just staring unblinkingly at me like, bro, like, we can just run away from here and everything will be okay. And I'm just like, I gotta go back to science class. And then, bro, she tried to kiss me, and I was like, at the time I was actually dating someone very briefly, and I was like, bro, I have a fucking boyfriend. What the fuck? I have a boyfriend. And she said, you call it a boyfriend? I call it a challenge. And then I was just like, I didn't know what the fuck to say, and I started like crying again because I was just like, it was like scared crying, but also like I had no idea what to do. So I just kept saying like, I gotta go back to science class. I'm gonna get in trouble. I gotta go back. I'm gonna get in trouble. And eventually she relented and I went back to science class, and just like, my teacher could tell because I still had just like tears all over my face, and I had like the look of a fucking war, like war flashbacks on my face. I don't even remember what the fuck I learned in science class that day. I didn't even have a coffee with me. I told him like, can I go to the library to get a coffee, and came back no coffee in hand with like my eyes bulging out in red and like tears all over my face. And he was very concerned. Yeah, I didn't even get my chai tea latte. I didn't fucking feel like getting it anymore. But I didn't get in trouble, even though I was gone for like a half an hour. And he didn't say anything. He just like kept teaching. He knew, but he didn't understand. Yeah, for teachers, they probably just see that kind of stuff and they're just like, oh man, classic teenager time. He probably didn't want to pry. Yeah, he was a really nice teacher. And then the next day we had this like ceremony, like for graduation, like a, what's it called, where you go into the gymnasium and sit in the bleachers and someone does like a presentation on some shit, like a, not a pep rally, but more like a assembly. Yeah, an assembly, because I was like 17, this is senior year, and we were about to graduate. And I sat down on the bleachers with like this group of people that I knew from anime club and shit, and we were just sitting there chilling during the assembly. And on this day, like, my friend hadn't shown up to school yet. She was absent from Japanese class, and I thought she just like called in sick or something. And out of the corner of my eye, I see someone approaching, and I see a bouquet of flowers, and it's my friend holding a bouquet of flowers, and she gives it to me, like right in front of everyone. And I'm like, oh shit. And after this, I immediately went to the school counselor to just like to talk about what was going on, because parallel to my shit that was going on, the guy that this girl dated was also having his own shit with this girl going on, where she was apparently like following him to his house and stuff. And he also went to the counselor recently, and they're like, oh yeah, we heard from so and so about this person like causing trouble. And I was like, yeah, I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I think she's having like a lot of trouble at home, and I have no idea how to approach this situation. I'm just a fucking 17-year-old dumbass. And uh after that, I went home and she tried to come to my house, and I didn't answer the door. And my parents were really worried because they're like, what the fuck is going on with this like friend? Like I didn't really tell them much about what was going on, but she's just like showing up. I see her like car pull up outside my house. She bangs on the door. I didn't answer. And either like that night or the next night, I don't remember, the guy who worked at Subway messages me on Skype or something, and it's just like, holy shit, like I just had the scariest thing happen to me, and I'm like, oh no. But yeah, he messaged me and says like, oh god, this is the most unbelievable part of the story. I still to this day, like, I don't know how much of it was him exaggerating, but like he was a pretty like low-key, like down-to-earth kind of person, not the kind of person to like make shit up. But apparently she came to his house during the nighttime. He like opened the door. He was home alone because like his parents were like almost always gone, and apparently she was wearing like one of my dresses that I had like left at her house during like a sleepover a while ago, and like dressed up like me. She was dressed up like me, had her hair done like me, was like wearing the same kind of like hairstyle. Like normally her hair wasn't like straightened, but she straightened it to look like mine. I don't know, bro. Like, this is just hearsay. Like, this didn't happen to me directly, but I just took his word for it. But she came into like his house dressed as me and was telling him like, I just realized like you're the key to my heart, and all this kind of like absurd shit. Like she like took his hand and put his hand on her chest, like near her boobs, and was saying like, you're the key to my heart, and trying to like get with him. And then obviously like he was like, get the fuck out of my house, and she left. And
Nyan, are you sure you didn't go to school in a CW show?
I don't know. Like, for the most part, my high school life was completely fucking uneventful, but for whatever reason, like, the planets aligned and all this, like, absurd, like, bizarre bullshit happened over the course of, like, a year or two. She had a keyblade. Yeah, I feel like it's, like, a combination of, like I said, she was, like, really into anime, and I don't know, when you're a teen, you're cringy, and like teens are just crazy to begin with. When you combine that with like all the other stuff that was going on, like holy fuck, that is like a witch's brew of the like hormones and anime. Yeah, she got lost to the darkness. Yeah, he kicked her out, and then she ran away from home. Like nobody could find her. She went to stay at someone else's house. And she dropped out of school, and that was the last that I heard of that person for many, many years. She's still out there? Well, there is a good ending to the story, because this person is doing extremely well now and is in a very good place in life, I will say. I don't want to reveal too much personal information, but they're doing so good. No, but they are in a good place now. They are in a very, very good place, and all the shit that happened in high school, like at the time it sucked ass and it was scary as fuck, but now it's just like, it's kind of I don't want to say it's a funny story. I mean, it's kind of funny. At the time, it was fucking terrifying, but now it's just like, man, remember that crazy shit that happened in high school? But I will say that I'm so happy that they're doing good now, and they're like, they actually have like a good support system of people that like care for them and love them. Cause that's all, I feel like that's all they needed. Like someone to kind of like help them get their head straight on their shoulders and just not really take all the BS and just sit them down and be like, no, you know, and break the cycle. And now they're much healthier, much happier, and living like a fantastic life.
See,
And
Chad,
yeah,
I
they
told you I
definitely
could
got
fix
like
her.
help for all the kinds of like mental illness stuff going on in the background. But that's why I don't want to like villainize them, because it's just like a story of how even like some of like the most assholey people you meet, they just got stuff going on that most people will have no idea of. Like just stuff in their own personal story that's brewing in the background that might be the reason for why they are the way they are, and they just need help. They just need support and love, and then they can be in a much better place. Was I the bad influence? Well, I was definitely enabling her. I was like, I followed her around like a fucking stray puppy, just desperately trying to be the best friend in her eyes and not mess up. So I'm definitely not like off scot-free in the story. Like, oh yeah, and they apologized to me and everything. Like at this point, like this story is just like a crazy story. Like it's nothing like, I don't look back on this like, oh my god, like I'm still so traumatized by it and all, because I wouldn't be telling this story if I was still like broken up over it. It's just like this is a crazy high school story now. Yeah, they went on a redemption arc for sure, and they're in a much better place. It was a happily ever after. I'm pretty sure they're married now. I'm not gonna jump scare you. Yeah, I don't hold any, like, I have zero ill will. Like, obviously for the few years after all this happened, like, I definitely was scared of developing like friendships with people because of all that stuff. Like, it did kind of shake me up a bit, but I got back on my feet pretty soon. Like after college, I'm too charismatic. I drove her nuts. No, I think honestly it could have been anyone. I don't think me in the story is like the unique piece. I was just a person. If anyone were in my position and were like following through with the same actions that I did, like just like trying to be on her good side, it could have happened to anyone. I'm not like I don't know. They did it to multiple people. It was not just me. I had a really sociopathic friend who acted similarly. Yeah, it's the same, like, sometimes you have friends that you're just, parts of them are like, holy shit, like, this is such a good friend, like, it's so fun hanging out with them, and we have so many good memories together, but then on the other hand, they are kind of a huge fucking asshole. And definitely need help. But sometimes the friend does realize that they need help and they get help, and then they end up in a much better place in life and end up happy, and then you end up happy too, which is always nice. But other times the person never takes responsibility for what they did and are just an asshole forever and do even more assholey things that cannot be excused, and in that situation you just say your goodbyes and you're better off for it. Yeah, other times the person is actually a complete sociopath and you should not waste your time worrying about them.